All right.
I have my boy panting in the background, so hopefully you can't hear him. Can you hear him?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Yeah, he's
I love
good.
my floofy boy, but boy do he do a pant.
He's got a lot of fur for a dog that lives in Florida.
Yeah, but he usually has air conditioning, so he's fine. Plus, did you know dogs that have are double coated? Their first coat is like an air conditioner.
Yes, I did know that. Mostly because Freya has a double coat.
Oh, that makes sense.
Her coat is not as pronounced, but like when you brush it, then you can really see that there's like two coats. It's very weird. It's a little bit shorter than like a husky's coat.
That's pretty cool though. His coat's just mega floof because he's American Eskimo.
Now?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, now that you've pointed it out.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't hear anything.
You'll listen to it while you're editing and be like,
why? So what made your week long?
Well, my week and my weekend were long, but for different reasons. So, okay, so I had been tested Tuesday. I had to be tested for the Rona.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah. And have you ever had like the regular flu test?
Yeah, back in 2016, I got tested for swine flu when I worked at Universal with you guys.
Okay. So, I kind of remember that actually. So,
it's highly uncomfortable. They shoved one Q-tip up one of my nostrils and pulled it out pretty fast. I gagged because I have really sensitive sinuses and my body, even like swabbing my ears, I gag, which is not good.
Ew. Well, so for the COVID-19 test, they take a larger Q-tip than I don't know if it's actually larger, but it definitely
just feels longer. Yeah.
And they shove it like way up to your eye socket, and then they twist. Ugh. And then, but they do that for both nostrils.
Did they do the one in your mouth?
No.
Okay, I've seen people have one where they do it in your mouth too.
Yeah,
like in the back of your throat.
Yeah, they do one there's one like where they can prick your finger and get results from a blood sample.
Your finger? Really?
Yeah, they can get results from a blood sample. They can get results by swabbing the back of your throat, like where the drainage would be, and then by getting it out of your nasal cavity.
Well, that's what I was like, oh, I know they do the back of your throat because of the postnasal drip, but your blood?
Yeah, they can.
That's interesting.
They can see what kind of, I don't know, I guess antibodies. I don't know what the science behind it is, but it came back really fast, which is not what I was expecting.
Well, I would say some people have to usually wait about a week is what I've heard. But even with the testing, I heard it's not very accurate either.
So they gave it to me at like 9:40 on Tuesday morning or something like that. I had a headache from that point all the way until like 2 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. And then the turnaround was really fast because I got it back like sometime on Thursday. Yeah, I got it back sometime on Thursday.
That's insane because, like I said, I've heard most people have to wait at least a week.
Yeah, well, the other people I've known, they've taken closer to like 4 or 5 days. So when I was working from home, which was nice, but when I was like not at work, I was expecting not to go back until the earliest, like tomorrow. And then suddenly they were like, hey, you can come back to work. And I was like, it's Friday?
You're like, I might as well just stay home at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I felt, but that's fine. You know, Friday was fine. I was annoyed all day on Friday, and I don't really know why. Didn't have anything to do with my job or with home. I just was in
It's just one of those days where you're like,
why
isn't it Saturday? Like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, I need to be home. Like, what is the deal? Why am I existing here? Yeah, exactly. I had that many a time last week where I was just annoyed. I wasn't even annoyed with my job particularly either. I was just like, my job's fine.
No, I get what you're saying. And then
weird.
Probably from like Thursday to yesterday evening, Freya was sick, and I'm talking like fecal matter everywhere.
He was crying to be let in, and then he was crying to be let out. But he started barking because she opened the door.
How dare she come home?
How dare she come home to her
Yeah,
own
really.
house?
I know. Really.
Anyways, I'm very sorry. What were you
That's
saying?
okay. That's okay. The other thing is I had to I didn't really want to, but we were wearing face masks. Merlin needed to be groomed. Like his fur was getting wild. So we took him to Petco to get groomed and we were wearing face masks. So that was my weekend. It was just long and I don't really want to go back to work tomorrow, but I also don't really want to be in this weekend anymore, so it's very weird.
It's one
Um
of those things where like, which one's the better of two evils?
yeah, yeah. So tell me about what made your week long. Made you
Honestly,
ready
it
for the
was
weekend.
just work was just weird. It was very, very busy. There's a lot of new things that were implemented. People just some people are just really weird at having conversations. So some of the conversations I had were really great, some of them were not so great, so it really just depended on what was going on. I was also PMSing for a good amount of last week. So everything was just 10 times more annoying than it would have been. Eric has to go back to work tomorrow, so that was upsetting. Today, we packed up all of the stuff that he had brought over here during quarantine so that he could bring it home, which is sad, but needed to be done. I went out to Target for the first time
So how was that?
in 3 months. It was bad. Half the people are wearing masks and half of them aren't.
I
Some
don't
people
like when
don't
people
understand what 6 feet fucking means.
yeah. I don't like when people don't wear masks in public. It just kind of feels like they don't
At least in
really
small
understand.
spaces like
Yeah.
Target. If you're
Yeah.
outside, like walking and exercising, I don't give a shit. But if you're in Target where you're in aisles, you're walking around people, you know people are going to be there, wear a mask. Wear anything around your fucking face. Like, I don't understand. I don't want to wear a mask. I have asthma and it's highly uncomfortable, but I'm doing it because I respect other people and I don't want other people to die. That's the whole
No, I
thing
get that.
is a lot of people don't understand that a lot of things are opening back up, and if people don't respect the guidelines, there's going to be a second wave of it, and people don't understand that. They don't understand the severity of the situation. Wear a mask, be safe, stay home as much as you can. Don't do unnecessary stuff outside. If you are walking around or whatever, that's fine. Don't hang out with a bunch of your friends. You can see them later. We have the internet. Don't, go to stores unless you absolutely need to go to a store. Stop just hanging out in weird places. It's just not the time for it. And one day when this passes, then it's going to be fine. But we live in an age where the internet exists. Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know if you heard, but there was some grumbling in the back because I'm sure somebody dared to walk their dog out front of the house.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, good,
But
good.
other than that,
Um,
the weekend's fine. I
that
got
was a very pretty
groceries.
soapbox you were on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
But I got groceries. I went to the chiropractor. That's basically the only thing I've really been leaving my house for is the chiropractor because my back is so bad from working sitting and also just in general because I have a fused spine.
My
So
chiropractor, my chiropractor
closed.
closed. Right. So my chiropractor closed like completely probably at the end of March. And then he opened back up, but only for like Monday and Wednesday until noon, like last week. But
You're like, I have to work.
I get out of work at 4:30. So,
That
I
sucks.
can't wait to go back to the chiropractor because boy oh boy is my
Trust
back
me.
crying.
I would say it's so much better. That's the thing is like I start to lose like mobility and I just get really, really stiff and I'm really glad they didn't close, but it took me over 2 months of them being open for me to be like, okay, I have to go. And even then I've only been twice in the last like 3 months and I used to go every week. So
Yeah,
I
I
definitely
get
am
that.
happy that they're still open, but and my friend made me masks, so I got to wear those masks out. They came in the mail literally right in time. It said they were supposed to come Monday and I needed them for Saturday, and they came on Saturday, so it worked out.
Yay! How
And they're
exciting.
cute. There's one that has little hedgehogs riding bicycles,
Oh, I know
and
that is
it's really
adorable.
cute. And then the other one is dragonflies.
Oh,
So
how cute.
at least I now have a mask because I didn't have one before, which is also part of the reason I wasn't going out shopping and stuff, is I just didn't have any mask.
Yeah, we've been having. I mean, I feel some type of way about it because I know that Amazon and such are just shitty to their employees, and I know Instacart is under the Amazon umbrella. But I have still been having my groceries Instacarted to me
I actually
because
used to work for Instacart.
I know, I know.
It was fine.
Yeah.
They
Well,
don't
I feel
pay
like
enough, but also drivers and shoppers are two different things too.
oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the people
Hmm.
that put your groceries, pack your groceries for you are not the same people that deliver them.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah,
The
they
more you
the
know.
more you know about Instacart, if you didn't know that, there's specific people. So they have like a certain. So my section was like a Publix, and there's a couple people a day that work. You get an order on your phone, you put everything in the cart, you come back. You have a certain time limit too. You come back, you pack everything, you label everything, and then a driver comes and picks up their bags and delivers it. So it's two different things, but if anybody wanted to know what Instacart was like, that's it. It's a lot of running around if you're a shopper, but good
Fascinating.
exercise. The biggest thing is just it's not super flexible. Like they schedule you.
I wouldn't want to work my primary job. I'm 8:30 to 5, 8:30 to 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. So if I was gonna have a second job, I would want like to do my own hours. Not that I was
Understandably
considering
so.
driving for Instacart or whatever.
Well, that's the thing is that wanted to do Instacart because I thought it was flexible like Uber Eats. Because Uber Eats, you kind of just turn on your app to drive, and you can just pick up food, and then you can stop whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But Instacart isn't like that. They actually schedule you, and that was not helpful for when I got a full time job.
Yeah, really. Well, I guess I mean we've been talking.
To your, you said you had a lengthy, amazing story for me,
I do.
and you need to jump into it.
I'm really excited about this story.
I'm
So,
excited to hear about it.
this story is actually I'm pretty sure it's our first listener suggestion.
Excuse
And
me, what?
well, and by that I
Who
mean my
emailed?
dad.
Oh,
My
okay. Okay, that's still something. But also, people,
my
please email us stuff.
yeah, yeah. So my dad sent me this suggestion. So shout
Has
out
he
to
been listening to our podcast?
uh-huh.
Oh, hello, father. I almost said Faja like Austin Powers.
Oh no. Kay calls him Dr. Father. So
Hello, Dr. Fathers. I'm so sorry you've had to listen to both of us be derp faces, but thank you.
so the suggestion comes from Coral Gables in Miami, which is where he was kind of born and raised. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about the notorious and notoriously spooky Biltmore Hotel. Have you
Yes,
heard of it?
I have.
Okay. So let's just jump into it because there's a lot.
I
I
can't
when I
wait.
first started, I was like, oh, this might be good, like if I was gonna do like a compilation of a couple of stories, but I just kept falling down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. There's a lot going on
You
here.
might as well, right?
So let's just hop in to this giant swimming pool. The birth of the Biltmore began in 1924 when young land developer and founder of Coral Gables, George Merrick, teamed up with John McEntee Bowman. Try saying that 3 times fast. To
Honestly,
build,
damn.
yeah, really, to build the Biltmore. Their vision for the Biltmore was to build, quote unquote, a great hotel which would not only serve as a hostelry to crowds which were thronging to Coral Gables, but also serve as a center of sports and fashion. Merrick was enamored by the beauty of South Florida's landscape and inspired by Italian, Spanish, and Moorish architecture. In fact, the tallest point of the structure, named the Giralda Tower, takes after and is named after the Giralda, a medieval tower attached to the cathedral. A medieval. A medieval.
Start over.
Oh, Jesus. In fact, the tallest point of the structure, named the Giralda Tower, takes after and is named after the Giralda, a medieval tower attached to the Cathedral of Seville, Spain. So that's pretty cool.
That is
And like
really
if
cool.
you yeah, if you look up pictures of both of them, like it's very uncanny. They're very similar.
That's very cool, though.
Yeah. The two partnered with the renowned contractors Leonard Schultz and S. Fullerton Weaver, who were known for the development of the Biltmores in LA and Atlanta, as well as the design and development of Grand Central Station in New York City, Miami Beach's Nautilus Hotel, and the Miami Daily News Tower, which is now known as the Freedom Tower.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so on November 24th, 1924, 200 of Miami's business and civic leaders and local press gathered to celebrate the partner between American Bowman and Schultz and Weaver. During the celebratory dinner, Bowman announced that the project would include a 400-room hotel, a country club, a service building, championship golf course,
Oh,
polo field. I know, the list goes on. Polo fields, tennis courts, and a swimming pool that would measure 150 feet by 225 feet, which is a massive swimming pool.
I was gonna say that's fucking massive.
Yeah, no, it kind of, if you like look at pictures of it or watch videos, like the swimming pool like wraps around parts of the building. It's huge.
Whoa, you didn't think
Yeah.
about the upkeep on that though.
I know. um
Jeez.
the entire project at the time was to cost $10 million, which now is a little over $145 million. Too much late too much? Nope, that's not right. 2 months later, the first thing to debut was the golf course in January of 1925. About a year after that, the Country Club and Resort debuted on January 15th, 1926, opening with a grand gala. Attended by socialites from along the eastern border of the United States, all of them traveled by trains marked quote unquote Miami Biltmore specials to attend an event that promised to be the grandest social event of the year.
I
Fancy
wish
nose up
I had
trend.
a social event of the year to go to.
The gala was incredible. It fit three full-sized orchestras in different places for the
Whoa,
guests to party and dance to. The gala was the first time that the Giralda Tower was illuminated, and it was a sight that people could see for miles around.
that's pretty cool.
So, yeah. So, over the next 15 years or so, the Biltmore was host to a wide variety of guests. The Duke Edward VIII and Duchess Wallis Simpson of Windsor, Ginger Rogers, Judy Garland, Bing Crosby, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President Coolidge, famed wrestler Gene Tooney, politician and financial advisor Bernard Burrich. I'm not really sure how to say it.
You tried.
Yeah, that's close enough. Journalist and writer Ida Tarbell, actor Douglas Fairbanks Sr., famed film producers Adolph Zuckerand and Jesse Lasky, and even infamous guests like one Mr. Al Capone frequented the Biltmore to enjoy the luxurious amenities.
He would, wouldn't he?
And that kind of is important. So keep
Okay,
that, put
good
a
to
pin
know.
in that. Not necessarily Al Capone specifically, but that people like that were there. And I
Interesting.
wrote a note to myself. Too bad this isn't a history podcast, despite all the history I'm dumping, because with all of the names that I just threw at you, there's a lot of really interesting stories
That's
to
so
go on
cool
there.
though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should do like a history podcast. I won't.
I was like, do we even have time for a history
I
podcast?
don't think so.
I think I
But
mentioned to you today that like we're basically both working full-time and then part-time jobs because we're doing this and then we're
yeah.
doing the podcast, or we're doing the podcast and we're working full-time.
So along those lines of Al Capone, another such infamous guest was mobster and Diamond Brothers gang leader Thomas, quote unquote, Fatty Welsh, who was
Ooh,
murdered.
that's my name.
He was murdered on the. I'm
It
sorry.
took you a second, but that's my
It
name.
did. I'm sorry. He was murdered on the 13th floor of the hotel, which was a luxury penthouse in the main part of the building. And that happened on March 7th, 1929.
Okay.
The details of his murder are still unsolved to this day. There's a lot of, I was gonna get into kind of like the theories about how he died, and then I realized like that would be the whole, like Fatty Walsh's whole story is like an episode all on its own. So I'll get there one day. I put it on a list of ideas for the podcast. So.
I get that. I have a list too.
Good, good. Even during the economic downturn that the country suffered in the 1930s, the Biltmore stayed ahead of the Depression by hosting water events that drew crowds of up to 3,000 people to see synchronized swimming, bathing beauties, which is icky for me to say, and
Ew,
alligator. Yeah, and
bathing beauties.
yeah, and alligator wrestlers.
Yeah, that
Um,
old thing in
yeah,
Florida.
you know, as you do, you just wrestle alligators. Um,
Floridians. The Florida
yeah.
man strikes again.
The Florida man strikes again. The Biltmore saw its most drastic transformation with the onset of World War II. The Department of Homeland Security and the United States Department of War converted the once luxurious hotel into a hospital and named it the Army Air Force's Regional Hospital. To adapt it to its new use, the former hotel's windows were sealed and covered with concrete. The floors were covered with military-grade, government-issued linoleum. And because of its newfound status as a hospital, it also became the first site of the University of Miami School of Medicine in 1952. And after it was done being a hospital for the war, it was renamed a VA hospital and remained a VA hospital until 1968.
Okay.
Okay, so from then until 1973, so about 5 years, the building remained unoccupied. Officials and residents of the Coral Gables, of the Coral Gables, boy, I'm having a tough time with the
The
English today.
Coral Gables.
Let's try that again. Officials and residents of Coral Gables lobbied the Historic Monuments Act and Legacy of Parks program. What a name, right?
I was about to say.
They lobbied that program for ownership of the Biltmore to be granted to the city. And even though ownership was granted, the city was unsure of what they would do with it in the future, and the building remained unoccupied for another almost 10 years.
That's weird.
So finally, 73 to 83, the city of Coral Gables approved and initiated a full-blown restoration of the Biltmore Hotel, a project which took almost 4 years and $55 million. And that's about 140.
I would say, what does that in today's money? That's still a lot.
Yeah, 142 million. The grand reopening of the Biltmore happened on December 31st, 1986, and saw 600 guests to celebrate the historical event.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people, but also, like, I feel like not, because
it's such a big place.
Because, well, not only that, but, like, if you think about back in its heyday in the 30s, they had like 3,000 people there to see swimming.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Maybe it was like an invite only.
Interesting though.
As a side note, not really relevant, but I thought it was interesting to share. In early 1987, a fire of a quote-unquote suspicious origin caught 2 chairs on fire in the hotel and destroyed one of them. The other one was salvageable.
I shouldn't have laughed at the fire, but...
Well, no, the fire wasn't... The fire didn't cause that much damage, but the sprinkler system actually caused over $100,000 in damage. So...
Alrighty then.
So from 1987, the Biltmore would only be in operation for another 3 years before another recession in 1990 forced it to close down again.
That's unfortunate.
And so for another 2 years, it sat unoccupied and unused until Seaway Hotels Corporation bought and became the operators. So from then to present, Seaway restored the hotel, now 273 rooms, its 600,000-gallon swimming pool, and its 18-hole championship golf course to its former glory, and manages it to this day.
Wow.
600,000 gallons of water in
that pool is insane.
Yeah. Have you seen pictures of it?
I literally just looked it up because I was like, oh my.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like, looking at that pool, that shouldn't be that big.
Yep, nope, 600,000 gallons of water.
No one should need a pool that big.
Well, the Biltmore Hotel.
Do people get married at this hotel?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, if you look at the website, there's like host events, get married kind of tabs on the thing.
Which, like, fair enough, because that place is huge.
Yeah, but so this is a fun fact that I didn't have in my notes, but since we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and say it.
Okay.
One night stays at the minimum can be around like $400 to $500.
Jesus.
And that's for like
the shit room.
Just a regular room. Like if you wanted to stay in like one of the penthouses, that's a whole nother ballpark.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm on rooms. Wait.
Yeah.
Superior room. I don't need to figure out. Jeez, man, this is insane. They have so much shit. 24 accessibility, technology, bathroom. This is insane. Like, this is so expensive looking. Jeez.
It's like a Ritz, you know? Do you want me to keep going?
Yes, keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So, fun fact, on June 19th, 1996, the Biltmore Hotel was dubbed an official historic landmark. So that's fun.
Probably because it's been around for so long and it has a lot of history based on what you were hinting to.
So, that's really all I have for the history. So I guess we can talk about, like, the haunting and the ghosts.
Yay!
So, the part we've all been waiting for. So the building sat in disrepair and sat unoccupied for a collective total of almost like 20 years or something like that.
That's a
And
long time.
yes, and so all those years it spent abandoned was crucial for its haunted reputation, I'm sure.
Yikes.
The stories like that attract nosy teenagers like moths to a flame, only adding to its creepy stories because teenagers are like,
Let's do occult stuff.
yeah, basically. So it is said that the most haunted floor is the 13th floor, which, if you look at the building, the Giraldo Tower is what has that 13th floor. It's the penthouse.
Ooh,
Yeah, so screams and cries can be heard coming from the 13th floor, but when you go to investigate, there is dead silence.
I don't like
Like,
that.
yeah, no, like when you go to invest, like somebody
It just
was like trying
disappears.
to, yeah, like there's like not even the sound of the wind, not even the sound of like you can hear your heart beating in your ears. Is just dead silence, like you're deaf.
Weird.
Yeah. Reports indicate that if you go to the 13th floor with a flashlight, the flashlight will go out suddenly but turn back on as soon as you leave. But if you try to go back up, the
It
flashlight
turns
will
back
turn
off.
on. So, back in the 1970s, a couple of writers slash investigators by the name of Richard Weiner and Nancy Osborne, with a team of 5 mediums named Patricia Hayes, J.R. Warden, Ann Phillips, Jean Barr, and Jan Clemma, conducted an investigation and a seance in the then unoccupied building. And so instead of butchering and paraphrasing, potentially missing any information, I'm just going to read a pretty long
Word
quote
for
from the
word.
article. Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to post a link to the article in the show notes so that if anybody wants to read it, because I'm not going to read the whole article, but I am going to read a good chunk of it.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's this quote unquote. The mediums, then based in South Miami, had no advanced knowledge regarding the location of the seance until the van transporting them arrived in front of the Biltmore. All 5 of them began picking up energy vibrations even before they entered the building. They were led directly to the morgue and autopsy areas where they felt no spirit activity at all. Which, side note, this is not part of the article. Like, remember that the morgue and autopsy areas existed because it was a hospital at one point.
I was just about to ask you. I was like, wait.
Yeah, because it was a hospital during World War II. Back to the quote. However, in front of the elevators on that floor, all 5 detected a similar feeling. Quote, something happened here, said Patricia Hayes. I don't know what, but it involves the elevators. 1 floor up in the debris-littered main lobby, they again picked up some spiritual activity in front of the elevators. J.R. Warden, another one of the medians, said, there was a lot of commotion and arguing right here. I feel that if we go upstairs, we will learn something about it. Each floor that the group passed was checked without any real significant happenings until they reached the 13th floor. Ann Phillips and Jean Barr spoke out almost immediately and simultaneously. Something important happened here, but there's more energy emanating down from the balcony above. The 14th floor of the Biltmore is actually a balcony of rooms overhanging the 13th floor. Both of these floors emanate with energy, said Jan Clemma. And this window, someone jumped, someone fell from it in the late 1930s. The mediums chose a room at the southeast corner of the 14th floor. It was nearly noon when the seance began. They spread a red dotted white blanket on the floor, sat in a circle, and clasped hands. Suddenly there was a loud banging. One of the Venetian blinds tore loose from its brackets and crashed to the floor. The group, already entranced, appeared oblivious to the incident. The same window, quote unquote, somebody jumped from. They hear the tapping of a cane. A cane maybe like a blind man? What said one of them? Yes, he's a small man, short. There are other sounds too, said Pat Hayes. It sounds like gambling devices, dice, cards being shuffled, tuxedos and expensive gowns. People are talking, glasses are clinking. There's laughter and music and so many happy voices. Warden leaned forward to the point of almost falling on his face. Yes, they are gambling. There's also a gun. There's 2
Oh.
guns. Yep.
Oh.
He's shooting. Clemma said, he's dead. There's 2 shots, 2 shots, and 2 shots. They're screaming, everyone is running, all confusion and blood by the fireplace. The room is empty and everyone is gone, but not the body. Jean Barr, who hadn't said anything about the shooting during this time, spoke up. There's a lady, a young woman crying. She walks to the grounds below, sobbing for her baby. She looks for her child. There is blood all over her. She just cries. The room was silent for nearly 5 more minutes when Hayes let out a sigh. There are others with us. They are sick, some are hurt, some are crying because they are forgotten. The man with the cane is one of them. There are so many. There's one in a wheelchair, said Jean Barr. He just sits and he doesn't move or say anything. There's a blanket on his lap, but nothing under the blanket. He has no legs.
It's terrifying. All of this is very terrifying.
That night, while we writers reviewed the tapes of the seance, we heard the same eerie sounds that the psychics had picked up. We had not heard it during the seance. It was the sound of a tapping cane, like a blind man feeling his way down a corridor. The tapping prevailed through the first and last parts of the tapes. So that's the whole quote. Sorry, it was so long.
No, but it's a good one.
Yeah, so I didn't want to like cut any of that out. I couldn't even begin to figure out how to paraphrase it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the article goes on to talk about how after they reviewed the evidence and did their research, they discovered news stories about the murder of our mobster friend, Fatty Walsh, which is one of
Fatty. That's me. I'm Fatty Walsh. That's definitely me. Spirit animal.
Which is what the mediums were channeling during the gunshot part of their seance. It then talks a little bit about William G. Kimbrough, who's now passed away, but at the time of the article's composition was a retired chief of the Coral Gables Police Department. This is his account of what the mediums had picked up by the elevators.
Gotcha.
Yeah, apparently he and his sergeant from when he was young on the force were called to a scene by the elevators where there had been a murder, but that information had never been released to the media or to the public, so the fact that the mediums picked up on that detail was a little bit jarring to Kimbrough. They had asked him about the woman seeking her child, and apparently when initial construction was just beginning on the Biltmore back in the late 20s, a woman was walking past the construction site with her baby and was brutally murdered by some unknown assailant.
Oh no.
Yeah, nothing happened to the baby to the best of his knowledge, but the murder of the woman was never solved.
That's insane.
Yeah, so there's true crime everywhere in these paranormal things. So let's get back to some spooky reports. Apparently it was/is common for people to go to their room to find that all the things that are supposed to be plugged in, like lamps and TVs, are just unplugged. And the outlets are like behind really heavy furniture that like it would take at least 2 people to move.
That's insane. Like just bulky furniture?
Yeah, well, like hotel furniture is like by design really heavy, so you can't just walk out with it in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just people like more than one person would need to move it, unplug it, and then more than one person would have to put it back.
That's insane though.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Oh, people have called down to the front desk of the hotel to complain of loud music or a band playing loudly in a room above them at like 2 a.m, but the receptionist is always just like, there's nobody in that room.
That's so weird. They're like, let's slap these drums.
Let's slap these drums.
I don't know, like, what are they doing up there?
Well, there's nobody in the room, so it's just like phantom sounds.
So weird.
There have been reports of people saying that it feels like their pillow is being pushed down, but when they open their eyes, there's nobody at the head of their bed.
Ew, I hate that. Ew, I hate that. Ew.
Yep. People report that the elevator will just stop of its own accord with no real reason, which is like my worst nightmare. I do not want to be caught in an elevator.
Me neither. I mean, I'm not super claustrophobic, but the thought of not being able to get out is definitely terrifying, especially if it like drops or something.
Yeah, I'm not super claustrophobic either, but I don't like the idea of an elevator just stopping. And this happens to the point where the hotel's elevators go through routine maintenance and inspection to ensure their safety for guest use. But in spite of all of that, the elevators just stop for seemingly no reason.
No, thank you, please.
That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
That's a no from me, dog. Yeah, same. I'm like, nope, that's good. I'm okay.
I'll take the stairs.
At that point, yeah, I would risk the cardio.
The elevator has also been said to take you straight to the 13th floor, bypassing any floor you might have pressed the button for. The weird part about that is that the upper floors of the hotel are still penthouse suites, so you need specific key cards to be able to access those floors. But the elevator will just sometimes take you to it.
No.
And if you remember, the 13th floor was where Fatty Walsh was murdered, so he's just looking.
He's like, oh, well, if you couldn't, like, if I can't enjoy it by myself, you must too. Please join me on this floor.
Yeah, really. Speaking of elevators, a couple of articles and websites that I skimmed through mentioned a silent man in a white tuxedo who appears as solid and clear as a living human being in the elevator with you, and then just as quickly and silently disappears again. How do you like that?
I don't like that at all. No, thank you.
Yep. South Miami resident and famed South Florida storyteller Linda Spitzer used to sit in the Biltmore every Thursday night from 7 p.m. to like 7:30, 8 o'clock for like 10 years. She says, quote, I never saw a ghost, but strange things were told to me by such regular people. Linda has stories and has told stories about apparitions of men in old military uniforms, people feeling tapping on their shoulders and backs, only to turn around and they either see nobody there or the person tapping them on their shoulder disappears right before their eyes.
No, thank you.
Yeah, really. The piano player once told me that she looked up and saw a man waving to her. She looked down for a moment and then he was gone. Women now, who were schoolgirls when this building was an empty husk, told me that they heard babies crying through the halls, noise from a party that wasn't happening, and had seen a man come to the front desk and then he vanished.
Ew.
Yeah. Other reports include shadow figures passing through the room, odd but subtle abnormalities when you look at yourself in the mirrors of the hotel, which I don't like. I do not
I don't
look at
like
myself
mirrors.
yeah.
I'm a very like non-mirror person. I don't like mirrors in bedrooms. I barely like them in the bathroom.
I do not look at myself in the mirror at night.
Me
Like
neither, because it's fucking weird.
if I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I am looking straight down into the sink while I'm washing my hands.
Same.
Like,
I cannot look at myself because
I
did you know if you look at your reflection in a mirror for I guess a long time, you start to hallucinate? Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm not going to look in my mirror. Plus, like,
Nope.
mirrors are very weird things in general, and I've never been comfortable around mirrors. I've seen weird stuff in mirrors, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Nope.
Thanks.
I don't like mirrors. Nope. So you can see odd but subtle abnormalities when you look at yourself in the mirror of hotels, like I said. Doors opening on their own accord, thumps, bangs, scratching noises, and the like from seemingly no source. And the large, heavy chandeliers will swing without any wind or draft that would have been possibly strong enough to make them move.
Interesting.
Yep. So I actually watched a really fun video titled Haunted Biltmore Hotel at 3 a.m. by YouTuber OmarGoshTV, which is really good. It's a really fun video.
I'm gonna have to look this up afterwards. Yeah.
A couple of the other sources I skimmed through say that people used to report seeing lights and flashing on and off and popping in and out of view in the hotel during the years when it was abandoned and closed off. Which brings me to my last story, which is the story that my father sent with his recommendation. And I will read to you.
I cannot wait.
I will read to you his email, the email he sent me, like verbatim.
Okay.
So shout out to my dad, Dr. Father. I love you, Dad. So here goes his email. This I'm just reading it verbatim, so it's gonna be like he's talking through me.
Okay, cool.
It was around 1983. Me and 5 other friends, 3 girls and 2 guys, were driving late one Saturday night, cruising around Miami. Back then, the popular thing to do was to go to Coconut Grove and hang out. We were still too young for the bars, so the only thing we could do is go to stores and restaurants, though they were too expensive, the ice cream shop, the head shop, I don't know what that means, and stuff like that. It was fun to go to the Grove, except for the Hare Krishnas who hung out and tried to convert people.
Oh my god.
I tried to avoid them, but my friends invariably would stop and debate.
Oh my god.
I'm like reading this in my dad's voice, which is making
in your own head.
Yeah. Anyway, after we had our fill of the Grove, someone, I can't remember who anymore, suggested we go to the Biltmore and check it out. On the way, one of the guys and one of the girls, who were a couple, told the rest of us the stories of and hauntings of the hotel. The hotel had been around since the late 1920s, early 1930s, having one of the largest swimming pools in the world at the time. It had also served as a hospital during World War II. The hotel became abandoned in the late 1960s. You'll have to check the date. 1968, Dad. And then fell into disrepair. The city of Coral Gables had the place fenced off, but it didn't stop stupid teenagers like us at the time from walking around the facility. So, here's the story. We get to the hotel. It's after midnight. It's dark as hell, and we all sat in the car facing the building debating whether or not to go in. I remember one of the girls was scared and wanted nothing to do with it. I remember my best friend was trying to convince her, she was his date, to go. I remember not necessarily wanting to go, but I knew I would if at least 1 or 2 others would.
Fair enough. Peer pressure.
Yeah, really. And then it happened. And then in parentheses, he says, remember, the building had been abandoned since the late 60s, fell into disrepair, and was still a few years before they were going to start the remodel. And that's in the parentheses. A light came on close to the top of the main part of the structure. It caught everyone's eye. It was eerie. It shouldn't have been there, and we all fell silent. Right then, the girls were like, oh, hell no, we are not going in there. And
Fair enough, honestly.
Yeah, I know. And I myself agreed. Without another word, I turned the car around and we left. Everyone watched the light as I drove away, but at about the time we were almost out of its view, it went out. As you can imagine, we were like, whoa, what the fuck?
Honestly, yeah, that's terrifying.
I took everyone home, went to bed, and actually had a good night's sleep. Afterwards, for the rest of our time in high school, these friends and I never discussed this again. Years later, when I went in the last years of my college days and visiting home, I drove by the place and was going to at least walk into the lobby. Once I saw the place looking all beautiful, I looked to the spot where I thought I had seen that light years ago. I didn't see anything, but the memory of that night made me decide to keep on driving.
He's like, no, thank you, I'm good.
Yeah, so that's the story.
That's amazing. Also, thank
Which,
you for sharing.
Yeah, really,
Honestly,
really.
thank you for sharing. That's really cool to hear a firsthand account.
I wonder if that light wasn't on the 13th floor because it says
One of the top floors.
Yeah, it says a light came on close to the top of the main part of the structure.
So it could be that area.
The main part of the structure in my head, maybe he would have to clarify. In my head, is the Giralda Tower.
That'd be really cool, though.
And that's where that 13th floor penthouse is.
It's like trying to get them to come in.
Yes, I wonder if that's not what it was.
It's like, please
it was
come in.
Yeah. Oh, it gives me I have goosebumps right now.
It's pretty cool though. Thank you for sharing that account because that's very cool.
So that was my dad's account. Thanks, Dad, for sending in the suggestion and the story.
Yeah, honestly. And if anyone else has cool stories about places and stuff, just send it to us, honestly.
Yeah, if you have a suggestion and a story to go with it, I will happily, you or I, doesn't matter. We'll happily
Doesn't matter,
them.
yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So what do you got for me?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go over some news I'm reading. A couple different articles, mostly just because there's not a ton of new stuff going on other than some random stuff here and there. I will say one of the things I've heard the most, which there's not a lot of actual sources for this, but have you heard about Cyberpunk 2077 where there's going to be realistic sex scenes and also you can customize your genitals, which okay. I've never thought about that being a thing ever, but all I've seen is these memes where guys are like, "Oh, I can finally have a big penis."
I have not heard of that.
It's so fucking funny. It's so weird.
I feel like that can't be true, right?
No, it's literally true. From what I've heard, they haven't exactly confirmed it, but from what I've heard, that's true. The realistic sex scenes are true. I don't know if the customizing your genitals thing is true.
Right. That's what I meant. The realistic sex scenes. The realistic sex scenes is one thing. Okay, whatever.
Which is still interesting, but again, we're now in an age where that's going to be more normalized, so I feel like that's just part of the times of us changing technology and us gaining more stuff that we can do in video games, that was going to happen anyway. But
I always come back to Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So Mass Effect Andromeda was by and large a terribly executed game, but there's one romance. If you romance Cora as a male, doesn't matter. If you're playing a male protagonist in Andromeda and you romance Cora, the best animated kiss, because if Bioware is notorious for really awkward looking kisses and sex scenes, but
where you're just
this kiss with Cora is so good.
Oh, so, it actually looks normal?
Yeah, it looks normal and it's just really well animated. I have not played through that romance, but I've watched the video of it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's cool.
Everything's getting better about the sex. So anyway, go ahead.
About the sex. The only sex.
Put
Well,
that in soundbite.
on the topic of Animal Crossing New Horizons,
I think we have talked about Animal Crossing in every episode.
yes, but that's only because we both love it and everyone else does too, so whatever.
Fair enough.
But Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold 13.41 million copies in the past 6 weeks, which Nintendo revealed Thursday in a quarterly earnings report. New Horizons has sold over 11 million units by the end of March, even though the game came out on March 20th. The Switch itself sold only 21 million units over the past financial year, so it sold a lot in a very short amount of time compared to everything else.
Yeah,
It
because
sold
everybody in quarantine was like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Oh yeah, so Wild World and New Leaf has sold less copies combined than New Horizons together,
Oh, that's
which is insane.
wow. Yeah,
But
that's interesting to
also
me.
New Horizons was super anticipated, so it's not that weird. Not only has it outperformed those two games several times over, its 13 million in sales is already greater than the lifetime performance of Wild World and New Leaf together. It's now the sixth best selling Switch game of all time, behind Pokemon Sword and Shield 17 million and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's honestly remains the king at over 24 million. But I think part of
I'm
the reason
sorry, is it
Mario
better than Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I think so.
Holy shit.
Mario Kart 8 had a lot of sales, but I think it's just because it's a party game and then it's so easy to pick up and there's no learning curve. It's one of those lovable games that never changes. Any Mario game.
That's
Mario
also another
Party,
one.
Mario Kart, it's always been one of those things that everyone's like, yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, that's also another one that because of quarantine, like people are able to play online because of their friends. So that
Yep.
makes sense to me.
It's insane how much people are actually buying and spending now because there is just no other I don't know, no other things going on. They have nothing else to do. Also, GTA Online and Red Dead Online servers are experiencing issues because there's too many people playing. GTA and Red Dead Online servers are experiencing issues. So if you're having problems accessing or playing either game, that's why. Both games are having problems due to the influx of traffic. They're working to fix that as much as they possibly can, but they're still having issues. At the moment, Rockstar Games nor its support branch, Rockstar Support, have issued a comment at all about this, but I believe that they're trying to fix it. It seems to be slower than normal due to what's going on with Corona and everyone playing. They have not issued any official comment, unfortunately, but I'm sure they will at some point. It's a pretty new thing going on, but they're really trying. I think all people are trying to kind of deal with this. They have no choice in the influx of what's going on, so some servers just don't know how to handle it. The service status page for Rockstar Support has put out things confirming that there are problems right now. Also, a lot of PS4 games are getting huge discounts on the PlayStation Store, so if you have a PS4, please buy some stuff before it's too late. So, there's an extended play sale. I don't know if you've seen it. We both have PS4s, just so anybody knows. Normally, they have more discounted games, but there's 235 at the moment. Some big games include Borderlands 3, Star Wars Jedi The Fallen Order, Red Dead 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, Need for Speed Heat, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and other big titles. So, if you have a PS4, take advantage of it before it's too late.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of things that are normally way more expensive. I think Star Wars Battlefront is only $20 right now.
Damn.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are way cheaper. Honestly, too, just so everyone knows, this might change. We record sometimes weeks in advance, so keep that in mind. Corona's not probably going anywhere anytime soon, so take advantage of some of these sales because it's helping people that are working for these companies make money still because they're broke, or maybe they don't want to lose their job, so it'd be nice if you supported them. Also, video games, so there's that too. Also, the Ubisoft actually filed a lawsuit against Google and Apple over the Rainbow Six Siege copycat. Have you heard about this?
No. You
So
should have seen like the weird like head tilt that I
face,
did like I was a
you're like,
dog.
huh?
I was like,
So,
what?
Ubisoft's suit against Google and Apple concerns the game Area F2, which is a multiplayer shooter. So, according to Ubisoft's suit, the game allegedly copies Rainbow Six user interface, including its final score screen and operator selection screen. So it's almost exactly the same as Rainbow Six Siege. The game itself is currently in a free period, so it is what it is, but Rainbow Six Siege is like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, what are you doing? They
Bro.
also told Apple and Google that the game infringed on its copyrights, but the game was still not taken down, so they decided to go through with a lawsuit. Rainbow Six Siege is one of Ubisoft's strongest ongoing revenue generators, making more than $1 billion since it launched in 2015. That's done through microtransactions and everything as well, but it makes sense why the company is very mad about this and is like, can you not steal our shit, please? Which is
Yeah,
very
really.
interesting. I've never seen Area F2, but if you look at videos, it's
You broke up.
bad. I've never seen video, like, I've never played Area F2, but if you look at videos of it, it's almost exactly the same, which is unfortunate. It's like, come on, you have the tools to make this not exact.
Amazing.
It's just insane. Come on. Also, another thing I want to talk about, Ubisoft also confirmed disappointing news about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It
Oh, I
does release
cry
later
every
this
time.
year. I know it's supposed to be a cross-generational game, so it will not only be available on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, but the PS5 and Xbox Series X as one of the biggest games announced for both of those. There's a lot of expectations, but it's kind of failing to meet those. It's not going to run at 60 frames per second on Xbox Series X, which, like, what the fuck is the point? So it
Yeah.
likely means it won't run at 60 frames per second on any system, even the only one being very high-end gaming PCs, which is really sad considering that's literally the age we're in.
I ain't
That's
got
what we
money
kind
for
of
a very
expect.
high-end gaming
Yeah,
PC.
exactly, but it shouldn't be running that low.
I mean, I have a gaming PC. It's what I'm recording on right now, but it's not high-end.
It's not
It's,
high enough, even though it won't be running at 60 frames per second. It will still run at 4K, so that's fine. If you have the computer for that, they said it will run at least 30 frames per second, which is not great. It will benefit from faster loading times, allowing players to immerse themselves in history and the world without any friction because it's running lower. They basically released a statement saying,
that
like,
sounded
oh,
salty the way you said that.
it is, it's stupid. They're like, oh, we can't wait to see the beautiful world we're creating in stunning 4K resolution. Who the fuck cares if I can't walk? Like, I don't understand the
Yeah,
fucking
really.
point. Yeah, they say that it's currently that way, suggesting that it could possibly change. But as of right now, they haven't announced that
I'm
it
gonna
will
keep my
change.
fingers crossed. I'm
That's
always like
cool.
with these titles that I love so much. I'm always willing to give the benefit of the doubt until even with Mass Effect Andromeda. I know that it's gonna be bad every time I try to load it on my computer, but I
But you
still
try
want to play it
anyway.
because I love Mass Effect so much. So no, I get it. Anyway, go ahead.
That's it. It was just like there's a lot of the same things as it before. A lot of down issues because of Corona. A lot of people are playing more than ever. You know, things are being pushed back.
Did you
Uh,
see the video for the Unreal Engine 5? Did you see about did you
no,
see
I need
that?
to watch it though.
It's wow.
Is it interesting?
The video itself is interesting. They make really when the video first came out, there was a lot of backlash about like the water and the character, but I think it's actually really it looks really good. I think there
I
was a
think
meme.
everyone always have something to pick on about a game.
Yeah, but like if you look at it, so they render it in triangles, and there's billions and billions of triangles in every frame for the whole environment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of the video where they show you all of the triangles, and it just looks like white noise. But
Interesting.
because of that, it just looks so good because you have all these triangles which are creating a whole bunch of different angles and creating like such a realistic environment. Oh, you've got to watch the video. It's a really interesting watch. I don't necessarily know how I feel. Well, I guess I do. I think that it's beautiful, and I think that it's the further we get in video gaming, the more we will be able to emulate real life in a video game.
Honestly, yeah.
Like
It'll be very interesting.
With the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer, for a hot second at the very beginning, the way that they animated the humans, it looked like actors and not a computer generated person.
That's very interesting. Like it looks so realistic that it didn't look generated.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'll have to look this
The
up.
environment. I should specify the environment looked they filmed it in the cave that they do it in.
That's really
But
cool.
the
I'm gonna
the
have to look
char-
at that.
the character that they use to kind of interact with the environment looks like a video game character. It doesn't look like a human being. But I don't think it was supposed to look like a real
A
human
human
being,
being, yeah.
because it was a character that used magic, and she looked very fey like, and but that's a whole different thing. But the
Oh, okay, okay.
environment, yeah, the environment
Itself
that
looked
they
very
rendered,
realistic.
they filmed it instead of rendered it. It was very interesting watch.
That is interesting. Well, I will have to look that up to watch it, because
Mhm.
that's something that I'm highly interested in.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the only thing I had for news. There's not a lot going on. Honestly, I should bring it up. So I'm stupid, and because I'm editing episodes, I keep losing track of which story is. So what we're trying to do is do once, like everyone, we're supposed to go back and forth, but we're having
Mhm.
this issue that every time I edit, it confuses me about, because I always think that that episode that I'm editing is the last one recorded, which is not true. So
Because we're recording like weeks in advance.
yeah, we started recording weeks in advance before we started posting, so my brain is confused and thought it was my turn for spooks, and it was not my turn for spooks. But I have a very great story next week, so I hope everyone's very excited.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm so stupid.
I'm not gonna spoil it. We'll wait till next
I've
week.
only briefly told her about it, but I'm
Yeah.
excited about it, and it should be fun. Thank you for sharing, and also thanks everyone for listening again. And
Yeah.
again,
And
as
thanks
always,
again, Dad, for sending in your suggestion of the
yes,
story.
that was really cool. And
Yeah.
again, people, please
Send your
share more.
suggestions. Send your
Send suggestions,
stories.
stories. Email us, even if it's just to say hi.
Yeah.
Check out our social media, Angel,
It comes.
Instagram.
Oh yeah. Yes, yes. You can find us at Gals Ghoul on Twitter, because the Ghoul Gaming Gals was weirdly taken for some
That's
reason, but
very strange.
it was an empty Twitter, but I couldn't use it anyway. So it's Gals
That's
Ghoul on
unfortunate.
Twitter. It's Ghoul Gaming Gals on Facebook, probably, and Instagram. And you can email us at ghoulgaminggals@gmail.com. And you can listen to us wherever you like to listen to your podcast.
Yeah, and if you have suggestions or comments or stories, please email us. But as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting and giving us feedback. We really enjoy this, and we can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, and thank you, Janelle, for podcasting with me.
Thank you, Angel, for podcasting with me.
Why did you say it like
I don't know.
that? Okay, I think it's time for more wine and for you to go be in some air conditioning.
Yeah, that's very hot in here. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.